Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, let's continue with SA 500. So today we have already done one question which is half. So I remember we were doing question number 7 and I gave you the overview of question number 7. Now let me finish this question first, and after that we will take your doubts at the end. So let me just quickly finish this question and then we proceed to the next questions. And after that today, just before we close the session, we will take your doubts. Right? So I'm not taking your doubts right now. I will be taking them at the end. Okay, come to question number 7. We have already discussed and understood. Now what we'll do today is we'll read the answer and I will give you one practical example each for each of the points so that you clearly understand what this is. We have already discussed this in our previous lecture, and this is where we had pointed out all the points and I have explained the concept to you as well. Now let's quickly now let's quickly read and take one example each of these points so that you are thoroughly clear with the concept. And I'm again repeating the question for you. It says, what are the various other assisting audit procedures available to the auditor when he wants to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence by applying audit procedures, risk assessment procedures, test of controls, or substantive procedures, or explain the various methods to obtain audit evidence? So a simple question is that what are the various methods to obtain audit evidence? Right, understand the question, understand the answer to this. We've already discussed this in detail. Let's now read through and have one example each for each type of audit procedure. The audit procedures described as follows may be used as risk assessment procedure, test of controls, or substantive procedures, depending on the context in which they are applied by the auditor. So you can use these audit procedures in one of the three things. Either you can use it for risk assessment procedure, मतलब आप इनसे risk कहाँ है वो ढूंढ सकते हो, that is your risk assessment procedure. You can use them for test of controls, that means your compliance procedures to ensure that the internal controls are reliable, and for substantive procedures to understand the accuracy of the data, which means all these points will either give you risk assessment or will give you a view on the internal controls, or will tell you about the accuracy of the data of the financial statements. The first point is inspection. Right, see what they've given. Inspection involves examining records or documents. See what we have written. Examining or inspection. So inspection involves examining of documents or records. They may be internal or external. They may be in paper form, electronic form, or any other media. It may be physical examination of an asset. Inspecting a registry of land is an evidence that land belongs to the auditee, right? So what will you inspect? Say for example, if someone tells you that I have a land building of 2 crore rupees, then you would want to inspect. So first you will inspect the documents, whether the company has proper documents which shows the ownership of that land. On the other hand, you can also ensure that you do physical verification of that asset to ensure that the asset actually physically exists, and also to ensure or also to check that whether the books of accounts have been properly recorded in terms of that asset, and the organization has proper legal documents showing the ownership of that asset. This entire concept is known as inspection. So when it comes to physical verification, you can apply inspection. When it comes to verifying the ownership of a particular asset or a land or a building, you can again obtain or use inspection. However, you can also use inspection when you want to verify the investment. So say for example, a company has investments worth rupees 50 lakhs. Now you want to verify whether the investments have been correctly recorded or the investments actually belong to the organization. Then in that case, what you will be doing is, then in that case, you will try and obtain the copy of the ownership of investments, and you will try to find out whether these investments are in the name of the company, right? That is the meaning of inspection. Are you getting it? So this is your this is your practical example of understanding how inspection works. Now, if you want to identify whether there is a risk in a particular element, you can again use inspection. So you can verify the documents and see whether there lies any risk to the ownership of that particular asset. If you want to obtain test of controls, then you will verify whether as a part of purchasing any asset, all the rules and regulations pertaining to them have been followed, including transfer of ownership. And if you want to check the accuracy of the data, again you can use inspection as your audit procedure. Are you getting it? Let's come to the next one, which is observation. Now see, what did we write about observation? We wrote observation means witnessing a procedure. Okay, let's see what they have given. Observation consists of looking at a process or a procedure being performed by others. Very important. आप perform नहीं कर रहे. Someone else is performing. What you are just doing is you are having an overlook on the same. Which means if someone is performing a procedure and you observe that procedure to find out whether that procedure is adequate or not, then it is known as observation. For example, if the organization tells you that we have a very strong internal control over physical verification of inventory, and we do inventory count on our own, and it is a perfectly drawn system, there is no chance of any error in our physical inventory count, then in that case you will not blindly rely on them. You will tell them that whenever the next time you do inventory count, please call us. We would like to have a look at how do you verify the inventory. This is known as observation. You are not going to check the inventory. You are going to observe a procedure that has been performed by the management. Now, this is known as observation. Observation will give you a lot of points, whether there lies any risk of material misstatement. So, it may so happen that the organization is counting the inventory properly, but it is not maintaining the inventory in a proper condition, which means there are high chances that the inventory will be damaged. If the inventory will be damaged, it will not be able to recover its cost, means it will have to be recorded at cost or NRV, whichever is lower. If it is recorded at lower, that means it is recorded below cost, and your profit and loss account will be debited, plus the organization will have a loss क्योंकि हमारी inventory की value reduce होगी. Why? Because it was not maintained properly by the management. So when you observe the procedure, you can find out these small points. You can also have a look at on the test of controls whether inventory is being properly controlled by the management, and also you can check the accuracy of the data, means the accuracy of the inventory register can be verified with the help of your observations. Are you getting it? So the first point is inspection, the second point is observation. Let's come to the third point, which means external confirmation. An external confirmation represents audit evidence obtained by the auditor as a direct written response to the auditor from a third party that is the confirming party, in paper form or by electronic or by other medium. Right? Again, I am repeating. What is external confirmation? It means audit evidence. Who obtains this? The auditor. How? By direct communication with the third party. It may either be in paper form or in electronic form or any other medium. For example, confirmation of debtors. So external confirmation is again a very good audit procedure, and we have a full-fledged standard on auditing, SA 505 for external confirmation, which you've already done. So say for example, you want to confirm on if you want to confirm on the debtors, then a very good way to do it is by external confirmation, whereby external confirmation you can ensure that the debtors have been correctly and properly recorded in the books of accounts. Are you getting it? Okay, so your first point is inspection, second point is observation, and third point is external confirmation. Let's come to the fourth point now. The fourth point is recalculation. What is recalculation? Let's see what we have written for recalculation. Recalculation means checking arithmetical accuracy. Right, see what they've given. Recalculation consists of checking the mathematical accuracy of the documents or records. Recalculation may be performed either manually or electronically. So you would quickly like to have a look at the calculations done by the management. For example, I gave you the example of bank that day. So these days, because you have computer systems, there are very less chances that there will be arithmetical accuracy. But when you are conducting the audit of a bank, it is important that you ensure that bank has calculated interest properly. Now, on what will bank calculate interest? Bank will calculate interest on the outstanding balance as per the time proportion basis. So you will simply calculate what is the outstanding amount, what is the time proportion that this amount was outstanding, and then you will calculate using the fixed rate of interest. You will calculate whether interest has been correctly calculated or not. This is known as recalculation. Please remember, recalculation मतलब ये नहीं कि आप calculate करके management को दोगे. Recalculation का मतलब ये है कि management ने already calculate कर दिया है, आप उसको एक बार दोबारा चेक करना चाहते हैं, then it is known as recalculation. Are you getting it? This is the simple meaning of the word recalculation. Okay, recalculation can be performed manually or electronically, means with the help of a calculator. An example, checking of computation of depreciation by the auditor. So if depreciation has been calculated by the company, and if the auditor just wants to check whether the depreciation has been correctly calculated or not, then he will resort to recalculation. Are you understanding this? How many points have we seen? We have seen the first 4 points, which says the first one is inspection, the second one is observation, the third one is external confirmation, and the fourth one is recalculation. Right, very important question this is. Let's quickly revise the points. It says the first one is inspection, the second one is observation, the third one is external confirmation, and the fourth one is recalculation. Let's go to the fifth point. The fifth point says reperformance. Reperformance means, what did we write? Reperformance means redoing a particular activity. Let's see what they have given. Reperformance involves, very important, please underline, auditor's independent execution of procedures. It involves what? Auditor ka independent execution. It involves auditors' independent execution of procedures or controls that were originally performed by the management as a part of entity's internal control. So say for example, management says that we have already verified physically the fixed assets, not the inventory. We have verified the fixed assets. This is our final fixed asset register. Based on this fixed asset register that we have obtained, we have recorded all the assets at the balance sheet. Now, which means that balance sheet की value depends on the fixed asset register. Fixed asset register depends on how good physical verification has been done and valuation of assets has been done. अब कंपनी में बहुत सारी assets है और मैनेजमेंट ने ऑलरेडी एक बार चेक कर लिया है. अगर मैनेजमेंट का इंटरनल कंट्रोल सही है तो सारी की सारी नहीं, मगर एक या दो असेट हम टेस्ट चेक कर सकते हैं कि मैनेजमेंट ने सही किया या नहीं. विच मीन्स मैनेजमेंट ने फिक्स असेट रजिस्टर चेक कर लिया है, फिजिकल वेरिफिकेशन ऑफ फिक्स असेट कर लिया है, लेकिन हम ऑडिट एविडेंस ऑब्टेन करने के लिए एक बार दोबारा, once again, if we check only a limited number of assets to ensure whether the management has correctly calculated everything or not, or correctly recorded everything or not. That is known as reperformance. So I am just performing the function once again in order to obtain confidence on the management's calculation, whatever the management has conducted. Are you getting it? That's your reperformance. Come to the next one, which says analytical procedures. Analytical procedures means you will analyze your accounting ratios. And then this is also one important point that I explained to you, that always is associated with analytical procedures, which is we check the accounting ratios. If there are any abnormal differences between the accounting ratios, we will obtain explanation from the management. Now, as of now, you just understand that analytical uh, ratios or analytical procedures is nothing but your analysis of accounting ratios, which means if, say for example, in the previous year my profit was 100 and my sales was 1000, which means my gross profit ratio is 10%. Now if I say roughly that in the current year my turnover has increased, if I say roughly that my turnover has increased to 1500, then in this case it is important to understand, if my turnover in this case, if it has increased to 1500, then I can say that my GP ratio will ideally increase, right? I'm using the word ideally. Ideally it should increase, unless if there is any other problem, that's a different thing. But if everything else remains the same, and if my turnover has increased, my GP will ordinarily increase by a certain margin. If it does, which means the auditor has performed the required procedures and everything is fine. However, if it does not, then understand what will happen. If it does not, then the auditor will try to find out what is the difference between the two. If the difference between the two is abnormal, it is too much, then the auditor will try and obtain an explanation from the management. So in this case, the auditor will obtain explanation from the management. Are you getting it? This is the basics of analytical procedures. However, after we are done with SA 500, we will shift to 501 and then 580, which is uh, nothing but your analytical procedures. So then we will be doing, I'm sorry, it's not 580, it is 520. So we will shift to SA 520 analytical procedures. 580 is your written representations, which we have already done, right? So then at that time you will clearly able to understand what are these analytical procedures. As of now, you must understand they are nothing but analysis of your accounting ratios that you have. Right, let's see what they've explained over here. Analytical procedures consists of evaluation of financial information made by a study of plausible relationships. Very important, plausible relationships. Plausible relationships means where there is a connection between the two. For example, sales and gross profit. Is there a connection? Yes, means there is plausible relationship among both financial and non-financial data. For example, computation and analysis of the gross profit ratio, the debt net profit ratio, the debt equity ratio, etc. See what they've given next. It says analytical procedures also encompass the investigation of identified fluctuations and relationships that are inconsistent with other relevant information or deviate significantly from predicted amounts. So analytical procedures will do what? They will investigate the identified fluctuations and relationships which are inconsistent with the other relevant information and they deviate significantly from the predicted amounts. Are you understanding? Okay, so this is your analytical procedures. Come to the last one, which is inquiry. See what we have understood about inquiry. It says obtaining understanding from knowledgeable people in the organization. It says inquiry consists of seeking information from knowledgeable persons, financial and non-financial, within the entity or outside the entity. Responses to inquiries may provide the auditor with information not previously possessed or with corroborative audit evidence. Underline the word corroborative audit evidence. It means supportive audit evidence. Corroborative audit evidence means supporting audit evidence. right? Again, I'm repeating for you. Inquiry means you ask about some information to the members in the organization, to the employees in the organization. What will this do is, when you obtain this information in the organization, uh, you are seeking information from knowledgeable people. It can be financial data or non-financial data. Why do you do this? To obtain audit evidence, means obtain some information that is previously not available from the financial statements, or you have already obtained some information from the financial statements, but you want some support, some evidence. So you will obtain that in the form of inquiries. In respect of some matters, the auditor may consider it necessary to obtain written representations from the management, and where appropriate, those charged with governance, to confirm responses to oral inquiries. We will discuss the same in SA 580. Now we have already discussed this, that you can obtain written representation from the management so that it acts as your audit evidence. Right, one example I would like to give you regarding inquiry. Please practically understand how this happens. Say for example, you found out a debtor worth rupees 60,000, which has not paid since the past 9 months. Now, no one gives a credit of 9 months. But what you will do in this case is, you will quickly discuss with the management that why is this so extensive for 9 months? Why have you given such a long credit? The management will explain to you. Understand, inquiry from the management. The management will explain to you that the debtor has become insolvent. However, the debtor has good relations with us and has promised that he shall pay the outstanding amount within 15 days. Now, this brings you additional information which was not earlier possessed by the auditor. Now, it is also important to check this information. So, what you can do is, you can have a direct communication with the management. That is also, sorry, direct communication with the debtor. That is also a part of your inquiry, which will give you what? Supporting audit evidence कि जो management कह रहा है वो सही है या नहीं, उसको support करने के लिए आप क्या कर सकते हो? You can obtain direct written representations either from the management, or you can obtain external confirmations from directly from the debtor. Or if the management confirms something to you orally, then you can obtain that from the management in writing, which is known as your written representation. Are you understanding? This is your inquiry audit procedure, right? So let's quickly revise what all points we have done. How many points are there in this answer? Very important question this is. You have 7 points. The first point is inspection. The second point is observation. What is the meaning of inspection? You verify the documents and records. What is the meaning of observation? Witnessing a procedure. What is the meaning of external confirmation? Direct confirmation from the third parties. What is recalculation? Reconfirming the arithmetical accuracy. What is reperformance? Redoing a particular activity which the management has already done. What is your analytical procedures? Analytical procedure is understanding the accounting ratios and plausible relationships. And what is inquiry and confirmation? Obtaining information from knowledgeable people in the organization. Are you getting it? Mark this question, very important. Question number 7, last day revision question. These are your key points. I'm sure you would have written all these points earlier. If you have not, quickly have a look at it, or you can click a picture of the same and ensure that you have written this properly in your notebook as your important question. Fine, let's proceed to the next question, which is your question number 8. Right, understand the question carefully. It says how an auditor establishes relevance and reliability of audit evidence. हमने आगे पढ़ा था कि audit evidence कैसा होना चाहिए? Relevant होना चाहिए. मैं आपसे current year की information मांग रहा हूँ, आप previous year की information देते हो. That is not relevant, not reliable. Right? You want relevant information. First, जो मैं मांग रहा हूँ वही information आप मुझे दोगे. That is relevant. What is reliable? It should be correct. So you will give me relevant and reliable or information which will act as my relevant and reliable audit evidence. Now the question is, how will the auditor decide? कि ये इंफॉर्मेशन रिलेवेंट है या नहीं है, ये इंफॉर्मेशन रिलायबल है या नहीं, राइट? उस बात पे ध्यान देना. वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन अगेन, and a question that is frequently asked in the exam. It says, according to SA 500, when designing and performing audit procedures, the auditor considers the relevance and reliability. Underline these two words. Underline these two words. The auditor shall consider relevance and reliability of information to be used as audit evidence. Now the question is, what is relevance and reliability and how it can be established by the auditor? ये relevance होता क्या है, ये reliability होता क्या है, और इन दोनों चीजों को auditor कैसे establish करता है? That's a question, right? How an auditor will establish relevance and reliability. Look at the first point, relevance of audit evidence. ध्यान देना. According to SA 500, whether auditor has obtained relevant audit evidence or not is depending upon the purpose of the audit procedure. Very important. It depends upon the purpose of the audit procedure. Underline this. This is your important true or false question. We're right. Very important true or false question, where we are trying to find out whether the information is relevant or not, and that depends on the purpose of the audit. आपका purpose क्या है, आप क्या चेक करना चाहते हो? अगर आप एक चीज चेक करना चाहते हो तो कोई मैटर relevant हो सकता है या नहीं हो सकता. We'll take an example for that. Let's see what they have explained first. For example, if we are verifying existence of building, ध्यान देना, if we are verifying existence of building and ownership of the building, the expert's valuation report of the building is irrelevant, but registry of land and approved map of the building in the name of the owner is relevant. Very interesting point. I'll explain that to you over here with the help of the same example that they've given. Then we will take one more example. So two examples will ensure that you have thoroughly understood the concept. My question to you is, your audit purpose, ध्यान देना. I will ask you a question based on this and then you help me out with the answer. Your audit purpose is to ensure that a particular land and building, say for example, that land and building is called A. You want to ensure whether this is in the name of the company. राइट, ध्यान देना. आपका ऑडिट पर्पस ये है कि एक लैंड एंड बिल्डिंग है जिसका नाम ए है, ए लैंड एंड बिल्डिंग. आपको ये जानना है क्या ये लैंड एंड बिल्डिंग प्रॉपरली कंपनी के नाम पे रिकॉर्ड की हुई है या नहीं. माय क्वेश्चन टू यू इज, डू यू नीड द वैल्यूएशन रिपोर्ट फॉर इट? माय क्वेश्चन टू यू इज, do you need the valuation report for it? Everyone on your chat box, yes or no? Do you need the valuation report for it? No. Okay, second question to you, ध्यान देना. Do you need ownership documents of land and building B? Do you need ownership documents of land and building B? Right. So Raj, Aman, I request you to again rethink on your answer, since you all have said yes. So I request you all to rethink on your answer. My question is, अगर आपको A building का ownership status check करना है तो क्या आप valuation report लोगे? बिल्कुल भी नहीं. क्या आप B land and building के ownership documents लोगे? नहीं. If the answer to these two is no, can you tell me what audit evidence would you obtain? Will you tell me what audit evidence will you obtain? will obtain the ownership documents of A. Why? Because for you, for the purpose that you are over here, this is relevant audit evidence. Which means relevance check करना हो तो आपका purpose clear होना चाहिए. अगर आपका purpose clear है तो पता चल जाएगा क्या relevant है क्या relevant नहीं है. Are you understanding this? Right, okay. Example number 2. ध्यान देना. I am giving you a practical example too. We have made investments in shares of company A. This company has given dividend for the year 2019 and 20. We asked the organization to show us the bank accounts where this dividend has been received and how have they recorded. Okay, again I'm repeating this. Please understand the question. We have invested in shares of a company A. This company has given dividend for the year 1920. Now, because they've given dividend for the year 1920 and we have received it, I asked the company to show me the books of accounts where this dividend has been received, especially show me the bank account in which this dividend entry is reflected in the books. Also show me how have you recorded this dividend in the books of accounts, because according to AS 13, according to me, some portion of the dividend will be treated as recovery of cost and some will be treated as income. So I told them that please show me the books of accounts. If the management shows me the books of accounts of 2018-19 regarding dividend received in that year, tell me, is it relevant? My question to you is it relevant? It's not relevant. Okay. Now remember, each one of you have said no for the books of accounts of 18 and 19. याद रखना, मैं दूसरा example ले रहा हूँ, आपको और अच्छे से समझ में आएगा. If I change my question and if I say that now I want to obtain information about the dividend of 2018 and 2019, now is this data or is the information given by the management now relevant? Previous question it was not relevant. What about now? Now it is relevant? Yes, of course. So everyone says now it is relevant. Why? Because your purpose has changed. The moment your purpose will change, your relevance of audit evidence will also change. Right? Is this clear to you all? Is this clear to you? Relevance of audit evidence? It will be relevant if it solves your purpose. It will not be relevant if it does not solve your purpose. Right? Which means if you ask me a question on audit and I start explaining to you AS 19, irrelevant. You ask me a question of audit, I explain audit. Whatever you have asked, I directly answer that question, relevant. Are you understanding? Because it is solving your purpose. If you ask me a question on AS 19, I reply to you on AS 19, relevant. If you ask me AS 19 finance lease, I explain to you AS 19 sale and lease back, irrelevant. Are you understanding? Everything depends on the objective, the purpose, what you have. Right? So relevance is directly related to your purpose. See, that is what they've explained over here, and I'm reading it again for you. Pay attention. According to SA 500, when the auditor has obtained relevant audit evidence and and or is not depending on the purpose of the audit procedure. Uh, For example, if we are verifying existence of building and ownership of building, the expert's valuation report is irrelevant, but registry of the land and approved map of the building in the name of the owner is relevant. On the other hand, if we are verifying the value of the building approved map, value of the building approved map is irrelevant, but expert's valuation report is relevant. Now we have discussed this at length and we have taken two examples. So I'm sure you're absolutely clear with this. Which means, what is the question? Let's quickly revise. The question says, auditor relevance और reliability कैसे establish करेगा? ऐसे 500 ऐसा कहता है कि audit evidence कैसा होना चाहिए, relevant और reliable होना चाहिए. तो auditor को check करना पड़ेगा whether all the audit evidences obtained are relevant and reliable. Now, how will the auditor obtain or establish relevance? The auditor will establish relevance in the following manner. What will the auditor do? The auditor in this case will check the purpose of the audit. If the purpose of the audit is getting fulfilled, then in that case you will say that it is relevant. So if your purpose is to obtain information about valuation, then the audit evidence that they give you, for example, the valuation report, is absolutely relevant because it solves your purpose. On the other hand, if we talk about, say for example, we want to obtain information about the ownership, then valuation report is not relevant, but document showing the ownership will then be relevant. Are you understanding? Okay, come to the next one. This explains to you regarding relevance. Now let's understand how can you establish reliability of audit evidence. Right, ध्यान देना important point है, and a lot of points I will ask you and you will answer to me. Okay, ध्यान देना. Unless auditor obtains reliable audit evidence, he cannot draw reasonable conclusions. Absolutely straightforward point, which says कि अगर audit evidence reliable होगा, only then, if the audit evidence is reliable, only then you can obtain reasonable conclusion. Which means, अगर audit evidence unreliable हुआ, तो of course आपके जो भी conclusions होंगे वो भी reliable नहीं होंगे. They will also be unreliable. Accordingly, since your conclusions are also unreliable, your audit opinion will not be reliable. Right? So it is very important that your audit evidence is reliable. Right? Unless the auditor obtains reliable audit evidence, he cannot draw reasonable conclusions. Reliability of the audit evidence depends upon, very important, nature and source of audit evidence. Source is the most important point. From where did you get the audit evidence is the most important point to decide upon the reliability of the audit evidence. While recognizing that some exceptions may exist, the following generalizations about reliability of audit evidence may be very useful. So let's note these down. Reliability of audit evidence. Reliability of audit evidence. How do you understand this reliability of audit evidence? Your first point. Pay attention to this very important point. The first point says the reliability of audit evidence is increased when they are obtained from independent sources outside the entity. That means external audit evidences are more reliable than internal audit evidences. That's the first point. External audit evidences are more reliable than internal audit evidence. Right? So earlier in this standard, you all have only told me this point, that external audit evidence will of course be more reliable than any other audit evidence. So that's your first point. External audit evidence will always be more reliable than internal audit evidence. For example, if you obtain audit evidence about bank balance from the ATM, that is more reliable than the bank book of the management. If you obtain audit evidence regarding cash balance when you physically verify on your own, then that is your external audit evidence. You're not depending on the management. So you yourself calculate the management. When you obtain information about a debtor from the debtor directly, that is external audit evidence. Again, that will be more reliable than the books of accounts balance that the management provides to you. So remember, external audit evidence is always more reliable than the internal audit evidence. Fine, come to the next one. See what example they have given. Copy of certified bank statement is more reliable evidence that the bank reconciliation prepared within the entity. Of course, external source of audit evidence is more reliable than the internal source of audit evidence. Come to the second point. The reliability of audit evidence that is generated internally is increased, right? Internal audit evidence की reliability कब बढ़ जाएगी? When the related controls, including those over its preparation and maintenance imposed by the entity, are effective. Very important, very good point they have raised. They are saying कि अगर आपके internal controls are very strong, which means your internal controls are very strong, you have good hold over the information in the organization, then we can say that internal evidences are reliable. Are you getting it? So there are some points where you may not be able to get external evidences. In that case, how will you judge the reliability of the internal evidence? You will think in this way, that if the internal controls are strong, then and the organization has proper hold over all its data and information, then definitely whatever audit evidence we are obtaining internally, they will also be perfectly reliable. So internal controls will, if they are very strong and you have proper hold over the information, then you can say that internal evidences are completely reliable. Are you getting it? Again, your first point says external audit evidences are more reliable than internal audit evidence. However, where you can obtain only internal audit evidence, in that case, if your internal controls are very strong, then you will ensure that internal audit evidences are reliable. For example, bank reconciliation statement will be more reliable than otherwise, not more reliable than the copy of the bank statement, if the internal controls are effective. Of course, external confirmation internal से तो ज़्यादा ही अच्छा है, लेकिन जब internal is the only source that you have, that time it will be reliable only when your internal controls are absolutely strong and perfect. Are you understanding? Right. So your first point says external audit evidence is more reliable than internal audit evidence. However, if internal audit evidence is the only source that you have, then internal audit evidence will be reliable only if you have very strong internal controls. Are you understanding? Okay, let's go to the third point then. Audit evidence is obtained directly by the auditor. For example, observation of application of controls are more reliable than audit evidence obtained indirectly or by inference. For example, inquiry about application of control. Very important. So audit evidence obtained directly by the auditor is more reliable than audit evidence obtained by indirect means. Are you understanding? Audit evidence जो auditor directly obtain करेगा वो ज़्यादा reliable है compared to the indirect means that you have. मतलब if you obtain some information through the management, that may be less reliable as compared to the audit evidence that the auditor obtains himself directly. Right? This is also something we have already discussed in SA 505, that external and direct audit evidence is more reliable than the indirect form of audit evidence. Right? I hope this is clear. We are done with 3 points. The first one says external audit evidences are more reliable than internal. Internal, however, will still be reliable if the internal controls are strong. And audit evidence that is obtained directly by the auditor is more reliable than the audit evidence obtained by indirect means. Okay, let's go to point number 4. Point number 4 says audit evidences in documentary form, whether it is in paper, electronic or other medium, is more reliable than audit evidences obtained orally. For example, oral communication of a decision in board meeting is less reliable than copy of that resolution obtained by the auditor. So audit evidence obtained in documentary form is more reliable than oral audit evidence. Again, we have discussed this. Written, documented audit evidence is more reliable than oral audit evidences, because oral audit evidences cannot be recorded as a proof, but written or documented audit evidences can always be recorded as a proof. So again, a very important point: audit evidences in documentary form, whether paper or electronic or any other medium, is more reliable than audit evidences obtained orally. For example, oral confirmation of a decision of a board meeting is less reliable than the copy of a resolution. So say for example, the management tells you that we have decided to increase, ध्यान देना इस point पे, we have decided to increase the managerial remuneration from 10,000 to 50,000. Say for example, the management tells you, you will tell the management what is the proof that you have increased. The management will say we have discussed this in the board meeting. Then you will ask for the minutes of the board meeting or the resolution passed at the board meeting, because a resolution passed is a written documented audit evidence compared to the information that you are obtaining orally from the management. So again, audit evidences in documentary or in paper form are more reliable as compared to orally discussed audit evidences. Are you getting it? Okay, last point. Audit evidences provided by original documents are more reliable than audit evidence provided by photocopies, facsimiles, or documents that have been filmed, digitized, or otherwise transformed into electronic form, the reliability of which may depend on the controls over the preparation and maintenance. Very important point, and recently we have been seeing all this, that a lot of documents with government stamp circulate on social media, and then we come to know that they are fake, right? So there is some digital application or digital software that helps you to create a fake document, a fake government paper, and then you circulate and mislead people. That is why it is always said that original documents are more reliable than photocopies, means Xerox copies, or any digitized audit documents. Are you getting it? So documents with government stamps usually circulate, and you've seen this, that a lot of fake documents are there. That is because you have so many applications that you can create fake documents. So it is always important that you have original documents which will act as a reliable audit evidence. Are you understanding? Okay, see what they have explained. Audit evidence provided by original documents are more reliable than audit evidences provided by photocopies or facsimiles or documents that have been filmed or digitized or otherwise transformed into electronic form, the reliability of which will definitely depend upon the controls over their preparation and maintenance. Sorry, the auditor increase the auditor gains increased assurance when he obtains audit evidence from different sources or of different nature. Very important, underline, giving consistent results, which means, last point and very important point, you can put this as point number 6, which says audit evidence is obtained from more than one source, giving consistent, that is same results, are more trusted and reliable. Are you getting it? Okay, अब ध्यान देना. There is something known as a job worker. आपको पढ़ा है? Who is a job worker? or have we discussed it earlier? On your chat box, everyone, do you know who is a job worker? Have we discussed what is a job worker? Or I think it comes in GST popularly, that who is a job worker. Okay, ध्यान देना. Who is a job worker? There are two parties. A gives goods to B for some treatment and cutting. ए क्या करता है? बी को कुछ गुड्स देता है. क्यों? ताकि बी उसको ट्रीटमेंट दे सके और बी उस पे कटिंग कर सके. So A gives some goods to B so that proper treatment is done and they can be cut properly and they can be cut and sent it back. Which means A does not sell to B. A is giving to B for some job work on those goods. Which means if I check the inventory of A, these goods, ध्यान देना, these goods will be shown as goods lying with the third party. Goods lying with the third party. तो मैनेजमेंट हमको कहेगा these are goods lying from with the third party. फर्स्ट पॉइंट ध्यान देना, मैं मैनेजमेंट से पूछूंगा कि किसके पास गुड्स है, वो कहेंगे जॉब वर्कर बी के पास है. फर्स्ट सोर्स ऑफ ऑडिट एविडेंस, कम्युनिकेशन, obtaining information from the management. Second, मैं उनको कहूंगा ठीक है, show me the document that goods are lying with the job worker. They will show me a document which shows that goods are lying with the job worker. Second type of audit evidence. Third, ध्यान देना, third point, I ask the auditor of the job worker, are goods of A lying with you? If yes, how many? If your, ध्यान देना इधर, if your inventory shows that there are 10 goods that are lying, with the job worker, if your inventory record shows that there are 10 goods lying, and if the auditor also confirms 10 goods, which means, look at these two, you are getting consistent results from both the audit evidences. First result and second result. You are getting consistent audit evidences from both the parties. Since you are getting consistent audit evidences from both the parties, in this case, you can clearly say that audit evidences are reliable. Why? Because you are getting consistent replies from both the sources of audit evidence. Are you understanding? Right. Is this question clear to you? Quickly on your chat box. Is this clear to you? Okay. Since this is clear to you and we are done with 2 questions, let's take a 5 minutes break. So take a 5 minutes break. It is now exactly 4:30. So I will see you at 4:35 after a 5 minutes break. And then we continue with question number 9 and 10. Okay, let's continue with question number 9. Come to question number 9 on page number 109. Let's do question 9. Page 109. Okay, see what they've given. If an audit evidence is prepared by management's expert, what extra care has to be taken by the auditor of the entity? तो मान लो मैनेजमेंट की ही किसी बंदे ने अगर कोई ऑडिट एविडेंस बना के हमको दिया है, in that case the question is what extra care will the auditor have to take in that case? See what they've given. According to SA 500, when information to be used as audit evidence has been prepared using the work of the management's expert, the auditor shall, to the extent necessary, having regard to the significance of the expert's work for the auditor's purpose, first point, evaluate the competency, capability and objectivity of the expert. तो अगर मैनेजमेंट कहता है कि हमने वैल्यूएशन रिपोर्ट बनाया है और हमारे कंपनी के ही एक्सपर्ट ने बना के दिया है, तो सबसे पहले तो ये समझना पड़ेगा कि क्या वो एक्सपर्ट कॉम्पिटेंट है. How will you understand the competence of the expert? By his professional degrees and by his experience. Capability, how many times has he prepared this report, and you can always test check whether the report contains proper information or not. And the third one is objectivity. What is the purpose for which he has prepared that valuation report? So the three important points are competency, capability and objectivity. You will check the competency by understanding what is, you will obtain the competency by understanding what is the professional qualification of the person. If he is professionally qualified and has proper experience, then we can say that he is a competent expert. If he can prepare the report properly and we can also cross check and find that out, then we can say that he is a capable expert, and we can also find out what is the objectivity of that expert. Second, obtain an understanding of the work of that expert. So try and understand what has he actually prepared in the audit, in the valuation report. What is the method that he has adopted? What kind of disclosures he has done? All these things will give you an idea about the appropriateness of this particular audit evidence. And the last point, evaluating the appropriateness of the expert's work as audit evidence for the relevant assertion, which means, is the expert's audit evidence that they are providing, is it relevant to what you need? Means the biggest question is, I'm writing over here, please pay attention, does it fulfill your purpose? That's the big question. हो सकता है ऑडिटर ने बहुत ही एक्सपर्ट ने बहुत ही अच्छा रिपोर्ट बनाया, लेकिन प्रॉब्लम ये है कि हमको इस चीज की इस वक्त जरूरत नहीं है, हम तो कुछ और ढूंढ रहे हैं. So if we are finding out something else and the management is giving us some other information, though that information may be very good, but is it relevant to us? The answer is no. It is definitely not relevant to us. So since it is not relevant to us, this will really not be any of any use to us, right? So your last point says that you will have to check the appropriateness of the work as the audit evidence for the auditor, right? So there are three things that you must check. First, competence, capability and objectivity. You will understand the work of the expert, and finally you will evaluate the appropriateness of the expert's work as audit evidence for the relevant assertion. Are you understanding? That is your question number 9. If the management says that some report, some information, some valuation has been done by our expert, you cannot blindly take that. You have to check three things. First, competence, capability, and objectivity. Second, you will understand the work of the expert, and third, you will evaluate the appropriateness of the expert's work as the audit evidence for that relevant assertion. Right? Are you getting it? Okay, let's come to question number 10. Question number 10, mark that very important question. Let's understand question number 10. Question number 10. Mark that important question. Okay, question समझना पहले. It says what consideration an auditor is required to observe when he is selecting items for testing to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Okay, you will have to break this question in order to understand it. So let's try and break this question. The question says, dhyan dena, what does the question say? The question says, what consideration an auditor is required? So put a slash after that. What consideration is the auditor required? Put a slash. What consideration is the auditor required? For what? To observe when he is selecting. What consideration is auditor required to do what? To observe. When when he is selecting items, very important point. When he is selecting items for testing. Why is he selecting items for testing? To obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Put these important slash points to break the question. ऑडिटर को किन बातों का ध्यान रखना पड़ेगा? व्हाट कंसिडरेशन एन ऑडिटर इज रिक्वायर्ड टू ऑब्जर्व? ध्यान देना, ऑडिटर को किस इंफॉर्मेशन का ध्यान रखना पड़ेगा? व्हाट एट व्हाट टाइम? व्हेन ही इज सिलेक्टिंग आइटम्स फॉर टेस्टिंग. जब वो आइटम सिलेक्ट करता है फॉर टेस्टिंग, व्हिच मींस व्हेन ही इज डूइंग टेस्ट चेक, दैट टाइम what kind of consideration the auditor will have to take care of to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Okay, let's try and understand this entire question first and what are they trying to ask you, and then we look at the answer. Right, it's a big answer, so we'll try to break it in parts so that you can easily and effectively understand this question. Okay, come to your question number 10. Let's understand what they have asked you. What happens is when you conduct an audit, sometimes it is not possible. I'm writing over here. It is not possible to check everything. It is not possible to check everything, which means you have to check selected items, but you will give your opinion on the entire financial statements. Right? It is not possible to check everything. That is why what will you do? You will check only the selected items, but you will give your opinion on the entire financial statements. Right? This is known as test checking, also known as sampling. Right? So many times there are 1000 vouchers. You cannot check 1000 vouchers. So in that case, what you will do is you will take a selected sample, but your sample should be such that your sample should represent the population. Now, if you select a proper sample that represents your population, then definitely when you give your opinion on the sample, you are giving an opinion on the population. And in that case, you will also easily come to know whether you have selected the right sample or not. Now, what are the points that you have to take in mind when you have selected the right, when you are selecting the samples to be audited? See what they've explained. When designing test of controls and test of details, auditor shall determine means of selecting items for testing that are effective in meeting the purpose of the audit procedures. Important point. वो ऐसा बोल रहे हैं जब आप compliance procedures और substantive procedures कर रहे हो, जिसको अब हम क्या कहते हैं, test of controls and test of details कर रहे हो, तो ऑडिटर क्या करता है, आइटम्स को सिलेक्ट करता है जिसको वो टेस्ट करने वाला हो. राइट, वो थोड़ी सी आइटम को टेस्ट करेगा और फिर वो पूरे फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स पे अपना ओपिनियन देगा. आई विल गिव यू अ वेरी गुड एग्जांपल फॉर दैट. You go to a sweet shop, and in the sweet shop you tell the shopkeeper that you want to taste a particular sweet. Now the shopkeeper will not give you the entire sweet to taste. He will just cut a small part of it and you will taste that. If you like it, you will buy the part that you have not tasted. स्वीट वही रहेगी, लेकिन आप क्या खरीदोगे, जो पार्ट आपने टेस्ट नहीं किया वो वाला आप खरीदोगे, क्योंकि आप टेस्टिंग के लिए ऐसा नहीं कह सकते कि जितनी बनाई है सबकी सब मुझे टेस्ट करना दो. That's not the way it happens. You will taste a small portion, but then on tasting the small portion you will decide whether the entire sweet is correct or not. Same बात यहाँ पे होती है. कोई ऑडिट करना हो, मान लो मुझे सेल्स चेक करना है, मुझे कैश एक्सपेंसेस चेक करने हो, तो मैं सारे के सारे 365 डेज के कैश ट्रांजैक्शंस चेक नहीं कर पाऊंगा, तो मैं सिलेक्टेड डेट्स के सिलेक्टेड कैश ट्रांजैक्शंस को चेक करूंगा, लेकिन मैं अपना ओपिनियन पूरे के पूरे फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स पे दूंगा, which means I am checking a selected item, but I am giving my opinion on the entire financial statements. In selecting items for testing, the auditor is required to determine the relevance and reliability of information to be used as audit evidence. The other aspect of effectiveness is an important consideration in selecting items to test. I'm again repeating for you. In selecting the items for testing, the auditor is required to determine the relevance and reliability of the information used as audit evidence. So सबसे पहले जब आप सैम्पलिंग करते हो तो आपको सबसे पहले क्या चेक करना पड़ेगा? Relevance and reliability. Very important point, यहाँ पे ध्यान देना. You want to check relevance and reliability. Let's take one example. Say for example, you want to verify the internal control for verifying all raw materials. Right, everyone on your chat box. If you want to verify the internal control for verifying raw materials, and there are 100 types of raw materials, it is not practically possible. It is not practically possible to check all the 100 types of raw materials. So you select 15 types of raw materials. You check 15 types of raw materials and you select these 15 types, and then you will select the procedure to do it. Now, when you select the procedure, my question to you and everyone on your chat box, my question to you is, will you look at the procedure for WIP or finished goods, WIP or finished goods और रॉ मटेरियल? आप किसके प्रोसीजर को चेक करोगे? अगर आप रॉ मटेरियल के 15 टाइप्स को चेक करना चाहते हो तो which is the procedure that you will check? Of course you will check the raw material. Why? Because when you check the raw material, you will get information of raw material, and that is your relevant audit evidence. Are you understanding? That will be your relevant audit evidence. Second question. The second point is, management tells you कि मैं आपको बताता हूँ orally. I am telling you orally what is the audit procedure. The management tells you orally what is the audit procedure. Is that more reliable than or a written documented procedure is more reliable? My question to you is an oral audit evidence reliable or written documented audit procedure is more reliable? What is more reliable? Written documented, which means कैसा कैसा audit evidence हम obtain कर रहे हैं? Relevant and reliable, both types of audit evidences. So a lot depends on the relevance and reliability of the audit evidence. Fine, let's quickly look at the next point. It says the other aspect of effectiveness is an important consideration in selecting items to test. Of course, the next thing that you have to check is sufficiency. Right? Sufficiency also means the appropriate quantity. This also we have discussed. I am again asking a question to you. We have already discussed this point. मैं question आपसे already पूछ लिया, but again I am asking to you. So please answer to me. If the item to be checked or tested, if the item to be checked or tested is material and risky both, will you check more or less? Will you check more or less? Of course you will check more. Why? Because more the risk, more audit procedures you will perform. Right? If you check more, or if the item is more risky, you will perform more audit procedures. Right? So then again, the nature of the item decides the sufficiency, that is the quantity of your audit evidence. Okay, look at the next point. Auditor may resort to any one of the combination of the following ways to select the item. So there are three types of selection that you will do. The first is selecting all the items, that is 100% checking that you will do. Second is selecting specific items. So you're selecting कि 10 आइटम है लेकिन हमको तो 5 ही देखनी है, बाकी 5 हमारे लिए बिल्कुल इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है, तो बाकी 5 हम चेक नहीं करेंगे. And the third one is audit sampling, where you will ensure that you divide the entire population into various parts, and then from each population or each strata you will try to pick up some samples and then you will conduct the audit sampling. Are you getting it? So there are three types to obtain or select the item. First is 100% checking, उसमें तो सब कुछ चेक होगा. Second is specific item, आप 10 में से 3 ही चेक करो, 7 आप चेक ही नहीं करो, that is selecting specific item. And audit sampling means you will divide the 10 into various parts. Suppose there are 5 groups that are formed. Then from each of the 5 groups you will pick up one sample and then you will conduct the testing of the same. Are you understanding? Right? I hope this is absolutely clear to you. Let's go to the next one. Okay, before I go to the next one, I want to ask you one question, right? So what we will do is I'll ask you one question. You think about it and answer to me. Quickly we take your doubts if there are any, and then we end today's day. I think this much is more than sufficient. Tomorrow we will begin with understanding what is selecting all items, what is selecting specific items, and what is audit sampling. As of now, I want to ask you one question. You all replied to me, and because looking at your reply, it quickly struck my mind that I should ask you this question. You all said that if the audit is risky, you told me that if the audit is risky, or if it is material, that is the correct word to use. If the matter in the audit is material, then the auditor has to conduct more audit procedures, or he has to check more, or he must check more. ध्यान देना. When the auditor checks more, what about the detection risk? My question to you is it low or high? ये हमने पढ़ा है पहले. Is it low or high? Is it low? Is it low or high? Okay, everyone says low. Now understand why is it low. Detection risk will be low because the more you check, the lesser items go unchecked. The lesser items go unchecked, there are less chances that there will be mistakes in those unchecked items. So automatically the detection risk comes down. What is detection risk? The risk that the auditor will not be able to trace a mistake when actually there is a mistake. Are you getting it? जितना ज़्यादा आप चेक करोगे उतना कम छूट जाएगा. जितना कम छूटेगा उतने कम चांसेस है कि उस छूटे हुए पार्ट में आपकी गलती निकलेगी. Are you getting it? This is your detection risk, right? I hope you all are clear with this. I hope you all are clear with this, right? I have seen that some of you have asked me doubts, but due to some or the other reason, I was quite tied up yesterday and today. However, after this lecture, I will be quite free, so I will quickly go to all your doubts and I will ensure that they are solved today itself. Right, so I apologize for the same that there is a slight delay. I was supposed to solve them by Thursday night or Friday morning. However, I will do that today. So I'll ensure that all those doubts are done. Apart from that, do you have any other doubt in what we did today or anything that you want me to repeat for you? So do tell me, I'll do that. And if not, then I think it is sufficient for today. Okay, I have one doubt which says, please explain the meaning of the sentence identifying conditions relevant to the purpose of the test that constitute a mistreatment in the relevant assertion. Okay, can you please send me a picture of from where have you got this statement, because I want to understand in what context this statement is given. If I only look at the statement, I come to know that the auditor wants to identify the conditions pertaining to the purpose of the test which constitutes a mistreatment in the relevant assertion. Okay, so since you have sent it to me, I will have a look at it and I will read the entire statement, and then I will be able to answer it out, because this statement seems to be incomplete and I need to read the entire thing to explain that to you. So that will be done today itself. Right? Anyone else who has a doubt? Okay, great. If you have no doubts, I will see you tomorrow. And tomorrow morning we will begin with AS19 and we will go to sale and lease back. So make sure you are there and you understand it carefully. I will also begin with your doubts. If you have any doubts today, we will solve that tomorrow. And again, we will continue tomorrow with SA500, that is audit evidence. Right. Thank you so much for attending. And now I will see you tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. If you have any doubts, please come back to me and I will solve that for you. Thank you so much for attending. See you tomorrow at 8 o'clock.